Hello and welcome to the Slapshot Syndicate podcast. Be sure to subscribe for more content, and whilst you're at it, go and follow our social media pages. They're on screen now. Now, on to the episode.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Slapshot Syndicate. Before we get started today, I just want to say a big thank you to everybody for commenting on last week's big talking point. It turns out that us at Hull, Brad, are just living the best life. We're allowed to bring whatever we want into the ring. Everybody else isn't allowed this same luxury.
You had a duffel bag, didn't you, last night? Sort of party rings and the lot.
I like to try and feed the masses. Or at least that's how I explain it.
Well, I didn't get offered one.
And that's our first big announcement for tonight. Our second is very much a big welcome and our brand new signing to the podcast, Alexander Ross. Please join us.
All right, lads.
How you doing?
Very pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me. Big hello to everybody down in the internet world.
So now let's get into Seahawks reaction. So fellas, Saturday night, big game away at Swindon Wildcats. I mean, I was, as much as I backed us on the fixtures, I wasn't that confident going into it. Rossi, you was at the game. I was first hand for us. What did you make of it on the night? What did you think to the ring?
Very different to what I've been to before. I was told that S Block was the place to be in terms of all the away fans, and it ended up just being me. So, that was great. I was literally surrounded by about 20 Swindon fans. So yeah, that was eventful.
And what was the vibe like in the ring itself?
Like I say, it's a bit different because it's sort of like a complex. It's a really big place, but in terms of the things that they're doing and stuff down there at Swindon, it is really impressive. Like it was a good vibe, to be fair. Like a lot of the everybody there, it was really like accessible, and like the way they do like the chuck a puck and 50-50s and stuff's a bit different to how we do it. So
yeah, well, I watched the stream and I could see there was masses of people.
Really busy, but Swindon are doing ace at the minute, aren't they, in the league? So obviously it's the place to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what do you reckon to the result?
Massive result for the Seahawks. I know. Obviously, in the past couple of weekends, you guys have said big weekend, but this was a massive weekend for us. I know, like you just said, in terms of going into the game against Swindon, there was a lot of people that had a big question mark over that, especially with the form that they've been in. But yeah, to go and pick up 2 points there in the fashion that we did, especially with, like I say, the form that they're in, is a huge result for Hull.
Yeah, I mean, they came to Hull a few weeks back, and again, I actually backed Swindon to win that game. It came back to bite me.
Egg on your face.
Yeah, and it was a close game even at home. So going away, where we've sort of suffered a little bit on the road this season, we really struggled to start getting wins under our belt. To go there and come out with, I know it was in a shootout, but still come out with a victory, nevertheless, is still really impressive.
I've never been so nervous for a game, to be honest, and at the edge of my seat, I mean, it was really back and forth, but when we started getting into the closing minutes, certainly into overtime, I was just inconsolable, to be honest with you. And then when we went into the shootout, there was obviously a bit of controversy around the penalty that Bricknell got to retake, which I believe was because of some misconduct by Sobchak. You might be able to correct me on that if I'm wrong. But
I know there was Sobchak and McLaughlin that both got a penalty that was resulted in the end. I don't know which
abuse
one was
of officials
which.
They both got.
In terms of me actually being there, the announcements in general weren't really like massively audible anyway, so it wasn't really clear. Sobchak got sent off the ice. Geordie got to stay on the bench even though he got this penalty.
I would assume that's maybe just down to you had to have 2 keepers dressed on the bench, so like a normal game, a goalkeeper can't be ejected or whatnot.
Yeah, well, we obviously watching the stream, the commentator had said, that's it, game over, Seahawks take away the 2 points, and before you knew it, Bricknell was coming back up to take the penalty again, so I was sat like, what the hell? What the hell's going on here? And then he announced, obviously, that he's getting to retake it, but I'll be honest, I was absolutely perplexed. I had no idea what was going on and why. Obviously, I saw something going on between Sobchak when he said something, but other than that, it didn't look like there was anything in it. So
no. we were really shocked. Well, I say we, me, my wife and her sister were really shocked in terms of the Subject getting overturned or obviously getting kicked out.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole match was, like you say, it was an absolute bag of emotions. The shootout was just crazy. I felt for the Seahawks really, because the atmosphere there was really, really, really good.
Yeah,
Deck was probably half of the reason for that, because he'd been winding the whole crowd up for the full game. But like I say, during the shootout, I had to back the Seahawks a little bit, so they'd scored like 2 or 3 of the penalties, and once we did it, I didn't really like stand up celebrate because I didn't want to get trampled. But on the 3rd or 4th penalty, I did give out. It was like we scored. I think Johnny probably scored about 20, didn't he?
Yeah.
But Johnny scored like the 2nd or 3rd one, and it was really quiet. And I just let out yeah, really loud, and I had about 20 people turn around. But yeah, like I say, it was a crazy one. But
the shootout itself though was just, like I said, something like I've never seen before. Going into sudden death and then having Bricknell and Cornell just literally take turns, shot for shot. It was something to behold, really. But
so you both talked a bit about the shootout. Obviously, that's how we won it in the end. If we sort of like look towards the beginning of the game, obviously Seahawks going behind early on to the usual suspect of Jake the Snake Bricknell. He came in clutch and got the first goal for Swindon. And then I believe they got the second as well, so went 2-0 up on the night. And then all of a sudden there was a mad sort of flurry of goals. I think in the 24th minute, it just came to life. And I think there was 2 goals for Seahawks and then one for Swindon. I mean, that's kind of crazy, that, when it sort of, you get the game back and then give it away again just as quick. It's a bit of a madness, that.
It was that. I mean, that was crazy, to be honest. You think just as you start building a bit of momentum, they come back and they're not letting you off with anything. And luckily, we got the power play goal ourselves not long after that, so managed to get within 1 again. And then it was just a case of trying to keep that pressure on, and we did it very well. I think you mentioned, obviously, Deck Barmer winding fans up. He did his job, didn't he?
I think, to be fair, Deckhand, we got to give a notable one to Tommy Spraggan as well. Young lad who's just come in as cover for Dave Phillips, obviously, who I think Matty described it as an injury that we don't know when he's going to be coming back, which is a bit of a difficult one. But Spraggan and Barmer had the hardest job on the ice, defending that first line with Bricknell on it. But in the first period, it was a difficult one, like you said. Bricknell went through with the first goal, and they just had to get tight to him. Like, they made it really difficult for Swindon to be this free-flowing team and things like that. But like you said, the second half was total madness. I feel like Swindon did play well on their home ice, but they scored when it was a power play, or as soon as they got that slight chance, it was a goal. So, like I said, but Barmer also came back in clutch. Like, going back to your point in terms of him having a great game and obviously getting the man of the match in the end, he came up with 2 really important goals, but ultimately did sort of keep that first line quiet, as the statistics won't show that, with Bricknell getting as many goals as he did. But like I say, I don't know. I know definitely he got 2 goals on the power play. I don't know about his third, but like, testament to those two who had a really difficult game, and Barmer probably with his goals at the right time and winding up the fans, and to be fair, at times he sort of did kill the atmosphere in the rink. There were times where I was sat there thinking, if we were in Hull right now, the crowd would be going crazy things, and the crowd did go quiet at times, because as soon as they got that goal to go ahead, the Seahawks were right back at them. And obviously, like I say, in the second period, Barmer got 2 of those, and he was giving it all this, and you need that kind of player in your team. Like, we've said it for ages, haven't we? Especially before he came back, we were sort of missing that person who's going to rustle feathers and stand up for the boys, and that's exactly what Deck does.
And for such a high intensity game, I was actually surprised there was no fighting. Both teams actually very disciplined. They knew what they needed to do, and no one was willing to get off the ice, making it a 4-on-4 potentially.
Yeah, so we'll wrap up then talking about Saturday's game. Obviously, great spectacle by the sounds of it. We've mentioned Jake Bricknell, Emil Svek on the night, Bobby Chamberlain involved again. The top guys in the league at the minute with the points in both, assists and goals. Made it a great spectacle. I guess we shouldn't have been too surprised about the number of goals on the night.
No, definitely not. It's quite refreshing, You mentioned it was, you backed Seahawks this week, but it very easily could have gone the other way, and you felt like you maybe, would you have placed a bet on that? Probably
no,
not.
Absolutely not.
But to come away with that win is just magic for us. And then we moved into the Sunday game.
Yeah, so Hull Seahawks at home to the Solway Sharks. I felt a bit of iffy how this one could have gone on the night. Solway have had a good couple of results recently. Bit of a bogey team for Hull. But it turned out to be anything but that, to be honest with you. We sort of came flying out the blocks and controlled the game.
Dare I say it?
Go on then.
Boys against men.
What did we say? Boys against men?
Yeah.
Men against boys?
Men against boys.
Same difference to him. So yeah, as we said, 6-1 on the night, massive. As I said, came flying out the blocks, controlled the game, and we seem to have that energy and enthusiasm to go get at Solway and go get some goals as soon as possible and really just control it as best as we could.
Yeah, and we did quite early on, didn't we? I mean, we went 3-0 up. We likes of Bobby Chamberlain, who we've mentioned, putting us on the score sheet relatively early. Then again, 13 minutes in, Sobchak, Hodgkinson again with the assist, second assist. He's been fantastic, and then we just punished him from there, didn't we? Really, you didn't give him any room to breathe at all. Obviously, you didn't come to this game because you were still in Swindon, weren't you?
I streamed it, but I can tell by watching the game that the atmosphere it'll have been a much better watching for the atmosphere.
Yeah. To be honest, it felt like a better atmosphere than we've had recently. Weirdly, to be honest.
Yeah, I think, again, because a lot of people didn't know what to expect out of Solway. Maybe you could have expected a really tough sort of game out of them and maybe a bit of a feisty one, but it didn't really come to much of anything, did it really? Like, the goal there scored, it was kind of against the run of play.
Could I ask, did it feel like business as usual? I know in the last couple of weeks, obviously we're all past all and we've been pretty much all the games this season. There have been times where these teams come to our rink and we make it a lot harder of a game. With the goals being so early, did it sort of feel like cruise control from there, or were there any times where it was a bit uncomfortable?
For me, it was kind of, for the team, it would have been a good game to have obviously followed on from the Swindon game. Obviously going to a shootout, really high intensity game. To come into that Solway game and just sort of, we're 3-0 up without really having to
exert ourselves.
Yeah. So to be able to just go 3-0 up in the night after and just sort of cruise your way through, and you could almost, like you say, just go into second gear and play through. So it was quite a nice sort of, I don't want to be disrespectful, but it basically was what it was.
To be honest though, like we said, that Solway usually, or have been, a bogey team for us, but that's just shown the corner we've turned this season. These games last season, we was maybe thinking, we could quite easily come away with a loss, but this season don't really feel that. And to be honest, we came out with a ton of confidence, and it showed. Then it straight away. I mean, we was on it. The way that puck was getting knocked around, and you've got the likes of Sobchak in there, Bonner as well. How good was Bonner's goal?
Oh.
Did you see that? I didn't do it justice though, I doubt, because being there was saucy, wasn't it?
It just kind of came out of Seahawks end zone, and the defenseman steps forward and he just pokes it by him. The defenseman goes sliding by as if he was Sol Campbell. And then he's just one-on-one with the keeper, and he kind of gives him the eye, shuffles, and drops it behind him and skates off. But then, and the defenseman just collides and each other. And he just kind of leaves the bodies behind him, and he's just a cool customer. He's just there's no need for that.
See you, chaps. Yeah. One thing that I wanted to put out there as well, a lot of the commentary mentioned these guys. The third line, in terms of our season, the third line's been really important. We've lost Brutton, we've lost Spursy, but the third line last night, I'm going off what Matty said as well. He said that because of how high intensity that the Swindon game was on the Saturday, it was great to see the third line out there, like as we say, ratting and doing the business, giving the first and second line a bit of time off.
You're saying the third line there. I know you mentioned Brutton, so obviously on the night it was announced he's committed to another 2 years at the Seahawks. So massive. That's massive. Well done, Bruts. All the best with that. Hope your recovery's going well as well. Yeah,
but just you have literally just said then, about how we come into this game, and what would you just?
The third line, we given a lot of minutes, weren't there, and they did really well in terms of disrupting the game.
There was on the ice a lot, to be fair.
But we said last week, didn't we? That third line, like you say, we call them the ratting line, but there's sometimes you put your third line out there and you think, oh, we need to get our first or second line back on as quick as possible. You don't really feel that with that line. Do you know, they just hassle?
The bit that made me laugh, and you would have been absolutely in your element, is Kent came out for his first shift, and right in front of A-block, he just skated straight across and just tried nailing somebody against the glass, and we all kind of was like, what's going on here? Yeah. But he just come out of nowhere. Yeah. You could see the physicality and the intensity they'd come on with, and it was great to see.
Yeah, he said after the game as well, Matty, that all of the boys were sort of hoping that he would get that goal. You know, Reece Edwards has shown what he can do in terms of goal scoring, and obviously Alex is taking his chance as well with sparing Brutton obviously not being in there, and to be fair, he did well, Kenny, last night. I know obviously there's been times where he's had to go to the Jets and things like that as well, but I think all three of those on that third line last night were really good, weren't they?
Yeah, it's doing him good, and you mentioned Carrot as well, didn't it? He's so good with a puck, but also I think he's deceivingly strong.
Yeah,
he can put them hits in, can't he?
He's really not scared, is he?
Really surprises you when you see him took some of even the bigger players into the boards, and I'm like, fair enough. Like,
yeah.
Gets on the weights a little bit. When he gets older, he'll be.
Yeah. So to summarise, sort of obviously the weekend for Seahawks. Then obviously a great weekend, 4 points in the bag. Our top performers continue again. Bobby's bagging up goals and assists. Emmy had a great night on Saturday. Sobchak, who we'll obviously talk about a bit later on again.
Hodge, Bonner, Barmer.
The team's really starting to play well and gel, and everybody's chipping in and just fighting for the cause, really. And you know, like you say, that is to summarise it at the minute. To be a Seahawks fan's really good. And
four horse race. Four horse race.
The fourth horse is well and truly alive, guys.
So that's where you're leaving us for this podcast this week. You'll be back soon.
Definitely, 100%. But big thanks for having us on. Really appreciate it, and look forward to being back on soon.
Yeah, good to have you. Thanks, mate.
That concludes Seahawks reaction. So now we're going to get into this weekend's games, starting with Friday the 24th of January. It was the first fixture of the weekend, and it was the Berkshire Bees and the Bristol Bulldogs.
Go Bulldogs.
I was waiting for that. Yeah, went shootout.
Went to shootout. You know, we both backed the Bees for this, and it come in clutch in the end, didn't it, really? I mean, a shootout as well. I bet it was quite an entertaining game, that one.
Yeah, I do. It's one I wished I'd have watched, to be honest.
Yeah, it'd be nice just to see them battling out for the 2 points. So.
Big win for the Bees.
Yeah.
Then we moved on to the Saturday fixtures on the 25th of Jan, starting with the Leeds Knights against Peterborough Phantoms.
Yeah, so it was an interesting game going into that one.
I think we said it'd be closer than you think.
Yeah,
definitely you did.
Yeah, obviously Peterborough coming off like back-to-back 4-point weekends, so they've got big momentum, big spirits in the camp going into there. I don't think they'd have feared Leeds Knights on the night, so they obviously went in there and had a good go at it. Obviously, it didn't come to fruition, unfortunately, but it was a close game like I thought it would be.
Yeah, 6-4, respectable result.
Yeah,
obviously,
absolutely.
Leeds are a good team, and we thought they might come away with the points as expected, really.
I mean, to be fair, I'm quite happy with that result. You know, being the realist, I don't think we'll get top spot. So seeing Peterborough right behind us drop points is a big win for us there, in my opinion.
Definitely. And then obviously we've already talked about this one, but Swindon against Hull in Swindon, 6-5 shootout. Probably, I would dare to say, the game of the weekend.
Quite possibly so, yeah. I mean, just as a side note for me, thank God, because I keep rubbing in this whole kitty business, and thankfully we didn't lose, because it's going to come back to haunt me at some point, but it's going to keep rolling on for another week at least.
Yeah, then the Solway Sharks against the Berkshire Bees on the Saturday as well.
Yeah, unfortunate one for the Bees there. Obviously, they got the result on the Friday, and then obviously Solway. I think we said this would be either way, you know, it could have gone, but unfortunately it went in the way of Solway.
Yeah. Then Telford Tigers against Sheffield Steel Dogs. That was quite a close game as well.
It was, yeah, and again, it could have gone either way. You know, looking at it, Telford Tigers are one of those sides where they can give you a bit of a game on the night, regardless of what they've done in previous weeks, and obviously it proved it there going to overtime. So,
yeah,
but that was a good game to watch.
Then Milton Keynes Lightning against the Romford Raiders.
The machine continues to you know, churn through some results for Milton Keynes. It looks quite emphatic at 7-3. Didn't look like it was too much trouble for them.
Yeah, we said I think last week, they were sat on the top spot for a while, and you just maybe think, does pressure creep in? I mean, beating Romford 7-3, clearly.
They're the sort of games
Sure.
you need to just kind of
Run away with.
get
it,
through,
yeah,
don't you? Not make a meal of them.
Yeah. So moving on to the Sunday fixtures on the 26th of Jan, we started with the Sheffield Steel Dogs against the Swindon Wildcats.
Yeah.
4-1. I was expecting that to be higher.
I think I said something along like 5-4 or something like that. I thought it'd be really, really close, but obviously it wasn't. Swindon obviously got in there and got a job done.
Yeah, definitely. Then we got the Bristol Pitbulls against Milton Keynes Lightning. Again, normal service resumes. MK 6-2.
Again, like you say, it's just normal service resumed. Milton Keynes doing what they're doing. Couple of shout out to some of their guys. We know we've mentioned, County between us.
Yeah.
He had a good weekend this weekend. So a few of those guys are putting some points on the board as well.
Yeah. Then Romford Raiders against Telford Tigers. Quite a close game, that.
Yeah. A close game. A good one, that, for Romford. Obviously, Telford having a good go at Sheffield, taking it to overtime, so they'd have got a point there, but Romford just coming in and just saying, no, we'll have the 2 points here.
And we mentioned that battle, didn't we, in the table where them two were concerned and how good that could be.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you say, every point will count at that point. So, obviously, Romford getting beaten on the Saturday night, Telford gaining a point, but then it's cancelled straight back out on the Sunday.
Keep your eye on that one, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then we've got the Peterborough Phantoms against Leeds Knights. Again, close game.
Yeah, it's just the way it went.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you say, I said about the Saturday game, seeing obviously Peterborough getting beat was great for Hull Seahawks, and then Peterborough knew they needed to try and get something out the weekend, and that they did. Big result for them there.
Yeah,
so
against
well
Leeds
done to them.
Knights. Yeah, massive. Then final game on the Sunday was Hull Seahawks against the Solway Sharks. 6-1.
Yeah, which obviously we've talked about. Big result for us. Obviously seeing Peterborough get 2 points against Leeds there. It was great for us to obviously get the 4 points to take the 2 point extra over the weekend.
Yeah, all in all, coming away with them 4 points is big for us, and we got to try and keep the momentum going now. But all around the league, very competitive at the minute. Like we're seeing those teams that you wouldn't expect to win come away with points, and that's what we love about it. It can be a bit boring if one team runs away with it all, and we've mentioned it before. This season's just been wide open. So
yeah, I just find it really weird how I think we've done it a few times in the past couple of weeks where there'll be a double header, so there'll be a home and away. And I know certainly from my memory, I tend to go for one team will win one night and one team wins the other night, and it always seems to come out that way. It's weird how it always sort of goes like that, and how home sort of backing pushes the team to win.
Yeah,
really weird.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on to the standings currently. In first position, we've got Milton Keynes Lightning. They've played 38 and are on 58 points.
Leeds Knights in second, 38 played, 57 points. And then it gets a bit tighter once again. Swindon, 39 played, 57 points.
Yeah.
So, those top three only separate by a point.
Yeah.
Just with Swindon playing the extra game.
There is that game in hand, isn't there, for most of them. So it's going to be interesting. Swindon cannot afford to drop points now if they want to keep that trend.
No, like we say, Leeds had the double header this weekend with Peterborough, won one, lost one. So it's just those games where if they'd won both, it keeps them, up top. But them top teams are just slipping.
Yeah.
Like I say, Swindon dropping to us.
Yeah,
maybe it's going to be a difference maker. Like you say, if that game with Hull had gone the other way around in the shootout, Swindon would be on 58 as well.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. Maybe it's just knowing that we're biting at the heels of the top three, and Peterborough out far behind it, and Steel Dogs, just adds that pressure on, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So moving on, obviously we've got Hull Seahawks in fourth position. We've played 48 points. Peterborough Phantoms in fifth, 38 played, 45 points. So that battle's we've just extended the lead a little bit there, I think, but it's not one that you'd feel comfortable on.
No, it means that we could, lose one game and still have a point in our favour. So it's nice to have that little gap just in case you have a little slip up along the way. So yeah, that's good for Seahawks. That sixth position, Sheffield Steel Dogs, 39 played, 44 points. So they're still snapping at the heels and coming in really nicely there. Like I say, I think they're a couple of decent wins away from really pushing.
Yeah, then we've got the Romford Raiders in seventh position. They've played 38 and they're on 37 points.
Yep, Solway Sharks in 8th, 38 played, 34 points. And Telford Tigers in 9th, 39 played, 29 points.
Bristol Pitbulls in 10th, 40 played, 28 points. and the Berkshire Bees in plumb last. 37 get played, 21 points. However, they have got games on everybody, so let's not assume that that's where they're going to stay.
It could just tighten up a little bit for them.
Yeah. Playoffs, going to be good.
Yeah, absolutely. I think just looking the way some of these teams are playing, like you say, those at the top, although they're sort of in like a little 3-horse race with Seahawks on the outside, it just shows you like Peterborough can play either Leeds, Milton Keynes, Swindon, Hull can, and they can get results. So we could have a really weird sort of playoff situation this year where the likes of Milton Keynes, like they didn't last year, didn't make it to the weekend.
Yeah.
You could have Leeds potentially doing it as well. So
it
could make for a really good weekend, that, depending on who goes through.
Peterborough got it, didn't they, last year? So just shows you it's anyone's game, really. You just got to turn up when you need to turn up.
Yeah. That concludes the fixtures and the standings for this week.
So moving on to this week's Stars of the Week. Again, a lot of contestants for this one. Big weekend for a lot of people. Some very good performances.
Yeah, obviously we've just covered in the weekend's fixtures. There was a lot of goals and a lot of point scorers over the weekend, and it could have gone to a vast array of players over the weekend. But let's get into the three we went with.
Yeah, so in third position, one of our own, Bobby Chamberlain, again, on it twice in 2 weeks. The man's on fire, isn't he?
Yeah, he's an absolute class act to watch as well. We've obviously talked about him a bit last week, getting Star of the Week, and how he's changed his game and been a bit more focused on getting goals and assists as opposed to knuckling people and doing the naughty side of the game. So, yeah, like we say, he's 2 goals, 1 assist against Swindon, and then followed up exactly the same against Solway, 2 goals, 1 assist. So finished the weekend 4-2.
Yeah, 4-2.
Absolutely a class act. I love to watch him. He's he's there at the right moment. I mean,
he's very direct, isn't he? Like, he doesn't need to do anything too fancy. He's always just in the correct positions at the correct time.
He is, and like
the points.
I think his second goal against Solway on the night, as good as Mar is in goal, he went one-on-one with him, and you just knew it was just going to hit the back of the net, and it was just kind of like, business, because that's where he's at the minute. His form is absolutely fantastic, and
definitely, and that's why he's proving why he's up there with the best of them. You look at the imports where they're sat on the table, and Bobby's right up there. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So
fair play, Bobby.
Well done, Bobby.
Moving on to second position. Do you want to say this one?
Yeah, Jordan Cowney of Milton Keynes Lightning.
Very good game. 2+4 against from the Raiders and Bristol, was it?
Bristol, yeah. So obviously a new person on our Stars of the Week. He hasn't featured yet. So
although we have noted him a few times, we've seen him pop up in quite a few the results that we've been studying and that. So I think it was a matter of time before he was going to pop up on this.
Yeah, he's been doing really well. It was hard to not give him it this weekend. He's great contribution, both goals and assists. And like you say, we've noticed him before. So at some point, he was always going to come on there, and we've given him it this week. So well done to him.
Okay, then. Number one. Number one
is one of our own once again. Some might call it a bit biased. We don't care.
So we just point him out. Emil Svek.
Absolutely fantastic. He's hit some sort of crazy form, and he's just clutch.
Yeah.
Absolutely clutch.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 3+1 against Swindon and then 1+1 against Solway. Just the guy was on fire. 4+2 weekend, but it was more his presence and the moments he come up with, especially in that Swindon game. He was just phenomenal. Really was, the difference between us winning and losing. I think
shootout winner on Saturday.
Yeah.
So just to come up with not just the goals in the game, but to be the shootout winner as well is
it was
class.
Fantastic. But yeah, well done, Emmy. Keep it going, mate. And well done to everybody who was on this week's Stars of the Week.
Well done. So now we're going to talk about our big talking point this week. And this week's big talking point is the news that came out about ice hockey in general. Bradders.
Yeah, seen the article posted about ice hockey being the best attended indoor sport in the UK.
Yeah, big surprise that to me.
Was me, to be honest, yeah.
I mean, when the news came out, like you say, the highest attended indoor sport in the UK. I mean, there isn't many indoor sports that you'd obviously put in your thoughts, but obviously a sport like myself, I've been going for many, many years now. I know obviously you're coming into a couple of years there. I wouldn't have thought best attended indoor sport. It's a bit of a madness that.
It is quite surprising, to be honest, and we have to talk about how it's advertised. You know, how did you actually get into it? I know you say you've been there for many years, but what attracted to it? Was it family because they got into it and it from way back when, and it's just come down, or did you have to find it on your own?
No, so it's a bit of a weird one for me. I've always sort of been into ice hockey. When I was younger, it used to be more like the ice hockey video games, to be honest with you.
Oh, yeah.
The fighting side of it, it was just like sort of like, oh yeah, I can play a sport, but I can fight at the same time.
Yeah.
So that, and then I'm a big fan of like the Olympics, more importantly, the Winter Olympics. So I used to watch a bit of the Winter Olympics, and obviously ice hockey being an event, and you kind of watch it, you're like, oh, this is kind of a decent crack, this.
Yeah.
And then at the time, it was the Hull Stingrays, and I just thought, do you know what, I might just go give it a crack in person and see if it's actually any good, and bang, one appearance there, and I've been hooked since.
I think that's right. You say about you went once, but you were sort of had a similar interest. That was me, to be honest. I always had a peripheral view of ice hockey, but never really took the time to work out what it was about and certainly watch it. So I sort of dabbled into it when I was a bit younger, just watching a few clips and things, but then just completely fell off the radar. It was only by chance that I started going, and Alex for that matter. So it was that period in between, it's like Christmas and New Year, where you don't really know what day it is or what time it is, and just was trying to think of something to do and happened to mention, let's go and watch ice hockey. But to be honest, that was something I had to do consciously. I had to go and like Google and find if there was a game on and when it was and who was playing. Knew nothing about it really, and I think so that's why it surprised me, because I don't think it's advertised the best.
No, absolutely not. I mean, obviously, to go with the stat that we started with, biggest attended indoor sport, it's obviously the fifth biggest attended sport in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even that in itself is crazy, really. I mean, that's absolutely fantastic. But do you think it could push for even higher, depending on, I don't know, the first thing that comes to mind would be obviously low media coverage?
Yeah. I mean, it definitely doesn't have enough media coverage. You could get this on TV somewhere, even at a low end. I know Viaplay last year they had a lot of elite league games on there.
Yeah.
That was good. I mean, I actually subscribed to Viaplay for that purpose, to watch it, and it's possible to do it. I just don't really know why we haven't. I mean, obviously there is, looking at our league, there's the possibility to buy streams, but the streams themselves, they're not brilliant. You have to go and again consciously go to someone else's site to buy a stream when you know they're playing, and then when you've got the stream, sometimes you can't cast it to your TV, and so you got to like try and mirror it. You might not have a separate device where you're stuck, so you certainly can't do that and go on your phone while you're at it. I just don't think there's enough around it to make it accessible. If there was some sort of streaming platform where you could flick through TV and it was available on there, I think it'd just generate a lot of traction with people. What do you think?
Yeah, so obviously you mentioned about how the teams do their own individual like streams of games. Do you think it would be sort of like a roadmap, a 5-year plan, something like that? Do we start from what we have now with teams individually doing their own recordings to, for example, Ticketco do a lot of like the stream passes? Do they take on every team's games and they host every team's games and they own that? And then does that then progress to Sky Sports, TNT, Premier Sports? Do they then take it on after we've done that middle gap? Or do we just go, we need the funding, one of these big broadcasters needs to come and invest?
I think it's, honestly, at the moment, I think it's too much of a risk for any sort of broadcasting service. I think you've got to build to that point.
Yeah.
To know they can get a return on it. That is going to come down to advertising. I mentioned earlier about when I got into it, I had to forcefully go and source it where it's not advertised enough, and why isn't that? If you are the best attended indoor sport in the UK, it's definitely been advertised, but I can't really see much of it, to be honest.
No, like
look at football, for example, it's everywhere.
Yeah, it's kind of just in your face, no matter where you go. Like when you think of betting, you think of football mainly. You know what I mean? You don't think of much other sports, do you?
Horse racing maybe, but
yeah, it's just I find it really, really interesting to what we could do with like the streaming or broadcasting side of it. A big broadcaster could maybe go 50-50 partnership with like a a low-end sort of broadcaster, see how it would work out to start with?
Probably, yeah. I mean, to be honest, I don't really know how it would work. All I know is that you're not going to generate popularity if you don't give people the means to view it. Not everyone's going to be able to get down to a rink or even know that it's on at their local rink. So why?
Yeah, I mean, is that down to the club themselves, or is that something bigger, potentially government-based schemes and sponsorships and stuff? I mean, when we talk about the Seahawks, I wouldn't say that they don't do enough. They could potentially do more to advertise, as probably most clubs do, but I wouldn't say they don't do anything.
No,
they're not really doing much. They're doing a fair bit. So what's the next level of that? Do they need support? Further up, we've got the statistics there that say, the sport is this, the sport is that. Does then the government need to sort of back the sport and say, do you know what? This is a different sport. And then instead of everything just being football, rugby, does the government get behind another sport and encourage development? I mean, we're not just talking about ice rinks in terms of what they offer for ice hockey. What about skating for kids?
Yeah.
Discos and stuff like that. Does that then sort of help create these new recreational areas where we've talked about, kids getting in trouble on streets on a night and stuff? Why are we not putting funding into ice arenas and putting on different events and stuff? Gets kids off the streets and builds up the sport.
Yeah, I fully agree with you, to be honest. I haven't really got anything to counter it. It's just, when you was a kid and I was a kid, there was a lot of football foundation.
Yeah,
so you could go to your local community centre and play football. There was goals everywhere. Ice hockey's not like that, is it? You say, you've got to physically have a rink to go and play it, and first of all, you've got to learn how to skate. So that's a tricky thing in itself, trying to get on the ice, and so you've got to go to public sessions. It can probably be quite costly.
Well, I think, looking at Hull Seahawks, they've been doing a lot of work with schools and stuff.
Yeah.
So they're taking the gear in, they're letting them have a play around with the sticks, the goals, the pads and stuff. They just are on the ice. But surely the council could put something together. Like, I know when we was at school, we did the swimming with school.
Yeah.
So for 6 weeks, you went and did swimming, coming up.
Yeah.
Ice skating. Ice skating goes into ice hockey. There's ways around it. Surely it helps the council and the schools.
Yeah, there was always a horror story, wasn't there, when you was a kid, of someone getting the fingers chopped off or something.
Ah, yeah, that one. Somebody had their hand on there and they got... But that happens to anything. There's always going to be accidents. I think you need to encourage kids not to be scared this day and age. Why shouldn't kids be adventurous anymore?
Yeah.
Like, say we used to jump off rocks on the beach fronts and stuff like that. Nowadays, parents are, you can't do that.
Yeah.
And we need to push kids into this, and I think,
I agree. I think, but just coming back to the point of, how are you going to get more coverage? On the flip side, maybe streaming it and getting it on TV and stuff, whilst it's going to be good for people who are hockey fans, it can last an awful long time. Ice hockey. It's stop, start, and I think being there and experiencing it and watching it, if you've not emotionally invested in it, it potentially wouldn't draw people in. It's like we mentioned earlier, did you watch the NFL? I would never watch a game on TV of the NFL because they don't play.
Yeah.
They don't play enough.
They tend to rely on stuff like the Super Bowl, don't they? It's like a mainstream big poster event, and that's what gets the bigger viewership probably in this country, I'd imagine.
Yeah. It's definitely a sport for watching live in person, being there with the atmosphere, interacting with the hockey fans, sat there. I mean, I buy the streams to watch my team, but that's because I'm already emotionally invested in what they're doing.
I've got a good one for you now, and I know because we've talked about this a couple of weeks ago in one of our episodes. Family sport.
Yeah.
Do you think that, advertising it as a family sport has helped it grow to the level it's at now? Or do you think it's just another reason why it's got this popularity?
I think it has, certainly to a certain degree, because at the end of the day, you're getting 5 people in rather than 2 people at the door. But on the flip side, advertising it as a family sport when realistically it's not family sport.
Yeah.
It also opens you up to a lot of criticism.
Yeah, it does.
So I can see both sides of it. In terms of viewership, yes, better, because you're introducing kids to the sport and they see they're one of their favourite players on the ice. Like, I want to be that player, so get me on the ice. I'll start learning at a young age.
Yeah.
However, advertising saying, "Oh, you're not going to hear any swearing, and no one's going to be throwing punches on the ice." That's essentially the message you can give, and that's just not what it is. And we don't want to take away that side of the sport, and that's what we all love. Certainly, a good bunch of fans that will turn up because you see them hard, heavy hits, and you've got the potential for a fight here and there. And yeah, it's a balance. Maybe. How would you reword it? It's not family sport. It's it's viewer discretion advised.
PG-13.
Parental guidance, something like that.
Yeah. I know we've mentioned a bit about money anyway, but where does the money come from in terms of growth? I know if we talk about, there was another obviously report that came out about how we're introducing ice hockey's version of VAR.
Oh, yeah.
And, off-site video reviews, that obviously makes our country's ice hockey on par with the European game and the American game.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's all well and good, that coming in, but that also requires funding. So as much as we're trying to get our game as, to the standard of Europe, again, money comes into it. It's...
Yeah, when you mentioned, obviously, where's this money coming from? I mean, we've touched on it before, but these clubs already put a hell of a lot of money into what they do, and I'm doubtful that there's any sort of return on it.
Yeah.
So to put that money in and then still have to keep ploughing more into it to get it right, you're probably never going to see a return on it. You're just doing it for the love, and which is a great reason to do it for, but some people won't be able to do that. Some companies won't be able to put more and more in. Luckily, going back to the Seahawks, we're backed by Reckitt's, one of our biggest sponsorships to date.
Yeah.
That's massive for us. So that's probably why we've started getting more attendances in the rink and stuff. But realistically, who's going to have that type of money to put into a sport when they know there's not really going to be much of a return on it? It's a hell of a bill to worry about when you go to bed.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you say, I know you say it there, it's all good for the love of the game, but the love of the game doesn't pay fees and, everything else. Like, you are paying players to play, so there's wages to lay out.
So do the government back it?
Well, that's, I would look at the government, the government say, people need to be more healthy, people need to exercise more. Well, this is a great foundation for it. As are other sports, obviously we're just talking about ice hockey here being fifth on the table. I don't know, what's above ice hockey in there. I don't know. Obviously, you think of rugby, football. Obviously, probably obvious.
Yeah, they're obviously the outdoor sports, maybe, but indoor. What you got? Basketball.
Yeah, obviously the darts, which is
big.
It's a big sort of Christmas-based one, isn't it? And obviously, Luke Littler's obviously the poster boy for that at the minute. Yeah. Do we need somebody like that for ice hockey?
Yeah,
I think we have got good talent and good British players and local talent there. So it's, I don't know what we'd need to do in terms of a poster boy for that. Do we?
Liam Kirk.
Do we need it? Well, yeah, Liam Kirk's a great example. He hasn't had much exposure though, really, has he? For what he's achieved.
No, but he's done amazing, hasn't he? So
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I think to get something out of it, you've got to put into it, and our rink's run by Hull City Council. So it's owned by Hull City Council as well. So maybe there is something in that. At the end of the day, it's the only rink we've got here in Hull. You're either going to invest in it and upgrade it, or you have to build a new one.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not good,
otherwise,
really.
is it a dying sport here?
Well, this is maybe why the likes of Planet Ice are buying the ownership of most of these rinks.
Yeah.
To keep most of them alive.
And the thing to look at it is, obviously, we've got some of our highest attendances for years, and if Planet Ice looked at us, would you be able to turn down that offer? Like, surely, because Hull City Council have always run that rink, and Hull Ice Arena's had an abundance of celebrities going and performing it there. Like, it used to be a big venue.
Used to perform WWF back in the day.
Yeah.
And have concerts in there.
Yeah, exactly.
So obviously it was a multifunctional arena. So.
And if Planet Ice look at something like that and go, well, actually, we feel like we can bring something out of this, they just make you an offer. And if they do, how hard is it going to be to refuse it?
Yeah, I can understand that. But I think we'll leave it there.
Yeah, it was.
We could probably go on this for a little while and go on many different angles, but
I think the main thing to take is the positivity out of it, to be recognised as up there with some of these bigger sports and getting the attendances. You take the positive away. We just want to try and take it to that next level. And, I think we're only going to do that by, even doing things like this. It's one of the reasons we decided to introduce this podcast is we know we all love the support and we want to share the love and hopefully get people into it. I know, I talk about it with my family all the time. Whenever they see me and my niece and nephew, they're now into it. Yeah. They want to come to a game and stuff. So it's only by word of mouth it seems to happen. So you got to practice what you preach, haven't you?
Absolutely. If you think like we talk about the Elite League, Sheffield Steelers, getting 10 to 15,000 a night. If each one of those people brings an extra person, just one person doubles the attendance, doesn't it? And all of a sudden
it takes is one game and then you've fallen in love with it. So.
Yeah. So, like I said, we'll leave it there. We'd obviously like to hear your thoughts and opinions on this and let us know. Obviously, you've let us know last week what your thoughts were, so please do it again. So, thanks for joining us on this one.
Thanks. Okay, so welcome back. This is the part we're going to talk about the upcoming fixtures for the weekend. And we start on Friday, the 31st of January, where Sheffield Steel Dogs are versing the Leeds Knights.
Yeah, so Yorkshire Derby on the Friday. Another big one potentially. Steel Dogs mixed weekend. Had a couple of tough games.
But Leeds haven't. Leeds have been good, but they've dropped points.
That's why I think it's a bit awkward, really. And a part of me is just straight up wanting to just say, Leeds will just take it comfortably. But I don't know. It's a bit of an awkward one again. I think
question mark over it.
Yeah.
See, I do think Leeds will do it, if I'm honest. But I know what you mean. There is a question mark there. When Sheffield's turn up, they can turn up, and when Leeds don't, they don't. So.
Yeah, as Peterborough obviously proved this weekend, just gone. There is an opportunity to capitalise on them. And
maybe we don't predict that one then. Maybe we'll just see how it plays out.
Yeah, we enjoy it for next week.
Yeah. Okay, so then we move on to the Saturday fixtures on the 1st of February. Start with the Swindon Wildcats against the Berkshire Bees.
This
Go on, say it.
I aren't even saying it, I ain't giving the satisfaction. It's going to be a one-way game. I'm just going to put it like that.
Okie dokie. We'll let sleeping dogs lie then. So yeah, I think Swindon will come away with that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
In emphatic fashion.
I think they will. Like we've mentioned, Jake Bricknell for one, he'll probably end up scoring another 4 there.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to be disrespectful to the Bees there, but he's just on fine form, and anybody who's coming up against is just tearing apart.
Yeah, definitely. Then we've got the Bristol Bulldogs against Telford Tigers.
I like where you went to go in this town.
Going to be interesting.
Yeah, another interesting game, this one. They've obviously just played each other quite recently as well, so it could go either way again. I'm going to go Telford.
Yeah, I think I'll agree with you on that one. I have a bit of a soft spot for Telford. I like how gritty they are. I like how when they show up, they can beat any team on any given night. I know a lot of clubs will say that about themselves, but I do genuinely believe it with Telford. We'll see how that one goes.
Yeah.
So, moving on, we've got the Sheffield Steel Dogs against the Hull Seahawks.
Well, this is basically a cup final for Sheffield, isn't it? Let's be brutally honest. Anytime we go to their place, it's, we either don't turn up or we really have to push to our very best to get over the line. And like you say, they tend to take it a bit more seriously in terms of like the Yorkshire Derby sort of side of it. We tend to look more at Leeds for that.
Well, it's a title, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, yeah. I only see that one going one way, though. I think we'll do it.
Do you think?
Well, the momentum we've got at the minute, yeah, I do. I don't think it'd be easy, but we will do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm fairly confident.
Yeah.
So moving on, we've got Milton Keynes Lightning against Solway Sharks.
I'm going to go a very one-sided game once again. After watching Solway against Hull, we didn't really need to get out of second, third gear to really put them to the sword. So I think Milton Keynes will do the same and probably heavy defeat there.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's a good job we're not scoring this, isn't it, with predictions?
Yeah, not yet.
So the final game on the Saturday is the Peterborough Phantoms against the Romford Raiders.
Potential to be a close game. I think Peterborough will come out with that. Like you say, they're chasing us.
They've got likes of Ferrara and Salem. Got some good quality players, and I know Raiders do, but the consistency that Peter have people have got in that team, I think, will just
like
shine through.
like we said, they came off the back-to-back 4-point weekends. You know, they've had double against Leeds and won one of them. So yeah, I fancy them. I think they're in good vein of form.
Yeah. So moving on to the Sunday fixtures on the 2nd of February, we've got the Leeds Knights against the Swindon Wildcats. Oh, that'll be a good game.
That is tasty.
Yeah.
That is.
Swindon are coming up against all the big teams now, aren't they?
Yeah, and if they can take points from any of these ones now, I think it'll be the reason why they could win the league, because they'll go against the easier teams after this, and it should be a bit of a smoother sailing towards the end of the season.
And obviously, you got to note that Swindon have got a game on the Saturday and the Sunday, whereas Leeds have got a game on the Friday and the Sunday, so they've got a bit of a layoff in between. Is that going to be a factor in that?
If that's a good thing or a bad thing, you know.
Yeah.
I've played in games myself where I'm all right the day after. It's the day after that where I'm suddenly like, oh, my muscles ache a bit here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It sometimes doesn't work well for you. So, you know, the Leeds legs could be a bit heavy come the Sunday.
Yeah, well, I think I'm going to go Swindon.
Oh, yeah. I'm not going to say a word on it.
Okay.
I'm going to leave that one.
So, Romford Raiders against the Solway Sharks.
A tough game, an hard one to call again. I'm going to push for Solway on that one.
Yeah, both coming off the back of tough games the night before as well, so
yeah,
I imagine there'll be a bit of fatigue in there.
Yeah.
And obviously Solway have got, who are they playing before that? They've got MK, and then you've got Romford Raiders. They've obviously got Peterborough. Tough games to go into this one, so you might see a bit of lack of energy, I think.
Yeah.
Or they're going to have to push for it. But I don't know, to be honest. I'm going to go Romford. Yeah.
I'll see you next week.
Okay. Then Hull Seahawks, MK Lightning, potential for a really good game again.
It's a super Sunday, isn't it, that one? Leeds and Swindon, then Hull and Milton Keynes is a great weekend fixtures. Back your own team, yeah, I would. Will it be enough? I would say just because they're coming to the Hull Arena, I would give us the benefit of the doubt.
You're on a knife edge here, right?
I am. I just again a weird team for us to play Milton Keynes, and like you say, they can have off moments as well.
I don't know what you mean.
I think it means more to them, if I'm honest. And I think they would rather die than let that game get away from them, if I'm honest.
Yeah, but you could argue that we're going to have the same mentality.
Depends, like, what sort of, you know what shenanigans we have when we play Sheffield. If we start, getting into a bit of fisticuffs and heavy hits, what bodies are we going to have?
I'll tell you what, I'll give you a father. Choose your team.
I'm going to back us.
Yeah, good. Well, me too. Berkshire Bees against the Sheffield Steel Dogs.
I'll go for Sheffield on that one.
Same.
To be honest with you, I'd like to say they're a good, gritty side.
Feels like we're bashing Bees, doesn't it? Like, but obviously they've shown this season they've got some top quality moments.
I like them. It's just
that's all they are, moments.
Yeah, you just don't know what you're gonna get. Like, it's nice to see them win games, and come away with points. But when you think of who they're against and the players that they're coming against, you just think, I don't see it being possible.
Yeah,
if I'm honest.
I don't know what you mean. And then rounding the weekend up, we've got Telford Tigers against the Peterborough Phantoms.
I think it'll be tough for Peterborough in that game. I think it'll be a close game, but I do think Peterborough will come out on top on that one.
Yeah, I tend to lean with the same way as you there, mate. As much as I said, I don't know, like Telford, if they are going to win that first game on a Saturday, not too sure about the Sunday. And Peterborough are a good, solid team at the minute. Absolutely. And they are going to be well focused on not dropping points. So, yeah, and see that going one way.
Yeah.
So that rounds up the fixtures for the upcoming weekend. I'd like to thank you all for your time, your likes, your comments, your subscriptions. Keep on coming, please, guys. It's really appreciated.
Yeah, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks for watching.